Good evening,
Good
uh,
evening.
dear
Good evening,
students.
sir.
Dear students, sir name was Dhwani Patel. Sir was corporate trainer. At present, he is doing with Sun. He is collaborating Sun Pharma, Lupin, and many more Sony, like many more organizations. Sir was life coach also. Uh, Today, Sir was our chief guest. He will give you some tips how to use this online course effectively. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir, for coming here and please give your valuable speech to students. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shrikant, and thank you for
Thank you.
inviting me and having me open up such a wonderful and utilitarian session for all the students.
Thank you, sir.
What I would like to tell all of you friends here is this: you have just begun on a journey of learning a valuable skill, and to make the most use of it, your learning needs to be carried beyond just this course. What will happen to your brain, your memory, after you finish this course, after you undergo today's session? Our memory, human memory, naturally declines, and you will have to overcome it. And other than many memory techniques, one very straightforward technique that I give you is known as R plus 3R. What R plus 3R means is, the first time you read or visit a course, you need to revise it 3 times in the next week itself. And the first frequency of revision will be on the next day. Then your memory retention that goes down and becomes around 50% in just one day comes back to 100%. And your revision need only be 5 minutes. That's it. Then the second revision that needs to happen is on the third day. And the last revision that is necessary for long time memory retention is at week 1, which is after 7 days of this first day. So all the concepts need to be revised with this frequency. Then you will really take the learnings away from this course. The second most important thing is to share. You will maximize your learning when you share the learnings of this course forward, so that it becomes firm in your mind. As the famous physicist Richard Feynman said, you have only really understood a concept if you can make it very simple to understand for some another person. So the first step of the Richard Feynman technique is explain the concepts you learn to a layman, maybe your father, maybe your mother, in the simplest manner possible that you have understood. You will very soon come to realize your understanding, your perception has been very different from the person who heard it from you. So you will be able to identify gaps in your understanding. Then you will go back and revise your notes, and then you will repeat the process of explaining it to another person till you get it. Then you will be able to make use of this concept in industry going forward. The next thing from an online course that we must all understand is this: we take it for granted, this valuable knowledge we get. We have a mobile with us, we have a laptop with us, or an online course, we think, oh, I can do it anytime. Just like a book we own, and it is kept in our bookshelf for years and years without referring again. So what we need to do is, don't take such valuable course for granted. Give it your full time and attention. Don't take the freedom of online, I'll see it in 10 minutes again when I want. Multitasking doesn't work here. You have to time block your time. Give yourself a firm deadline that within this time period I will definitely complete the deliverables that I learn. Give a dedicated time block to your learning. And that brings us to the third thing that I want to share with you to open up this session for all of you. And that is your focus. You must be in a distraction free focus environment. Right now, I myself am in a distraction free focus environment. I have created what is known as a TBTF. TBTF is tight bubble of total focus. The environment around me should be completely silent. Go to a friend's place if necessary. Go to your uncle's place if your home is not a silent environment. Close the doors. If you are not using a mobile, if you are using this course on a laptop, keep your mobile outside the room so that there is no notification, no distraction, no calls, nothing whatsoever. And before you come here, before 10 minutes, prepare all the necessities so that you don't get distracted in between. Take a bottle of water along with you. Finish your bio needs. Have a notebook and pen ready. Think there is no rewind in this course. In online courses, the rewind button must not be used because that makes us distracted. The availability of a rewind button makes us distracted. No, think it's a live course that you are going through and give it your complete focus. And finally, take 3 deep breaths before you begin, because deep breathing or a little bit of mindfulness meditation before you begin new learning grounds you, makes you calm, makes you totally focused. And with this, I thank you all for joining this course, and I hand the baton over back to Shrikant. Shrikant, over to you again.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your valuable suggestions. If anybody have any career issues or anything, if you want to contact Dhoni Patel sir, I will give all the brochure and details of uh, Dhoni Patel sir. Um, Sir was completed MBA from Bhubaneswar. I think I forgot to give the details. Thank you very much, sir. I will give all the details in description box. Anybody want contact to Dhoni Patel, sir, they can contact, sir. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank,
Shrikant.
thank you, sir. Bye, sir. Um, yes, Rajamohan Reddy, hi. Hi, all of you. That was the great speech by Dhoni Patel, sir. You can use this course very effectively. If you have any doubts, you can call me at any time in working hours, or you can WhatsApp me at any time. Okay. So I am adding Raviraj Patel, sir. He is the trainer of computer system validation. Uh, 1 minute. Hi, sir.
Hi, good evening everyone,
Good evening, sir.
and specially thanks to Dhwani sir and Srikant sir for conducting these type of sessions for especially interesting subject in pharma industry. It's a computer system validation.
Yes, sir.
Myself, Raviraj Patel, subject matter expert of CSV, computer system validation, having more than 7+ years of experience with CSV consultancy and pharma industries. Knowledge of quality assurance and pharma compliance regulations, worked with QA, CSVIT, and qualification team. So, can we start the session?
Yes, sir. Please proceed.
Okay. Is this visible to everyone? Okay. The first session is deliverables of computer system validation. So deliverables means the bunch of documents and what we execute during validation. So moving to the next slide, why the needs of CSV came into the picture. As we know that uh, today, nowadays, any system or any process are going to digitalize, or which we can say that we are moving from labor to a automated system to reduce our labor work and improve the efficiency and quality of the product. So for that, to maximize the value of computer system system and employees that we use it, so it's reduce the labor cost by enhancing employee efficiency and effectiveness. Effective project management are scheduled on time and budget. If we use the automated system, so we can calculate the time and we get the project and the product as per defined time. And so our in low budget and with high efficiency and less time, so CSP is required to improve the efficiency and to reach our targets and projects. So it saves the money by time and by discovering defects at early stage. If we do the validation, then we can find any errors or any bugs are there early in an early stage. Means if we going to do validation, then at early stage we find out what is defect is there or any problem is there. So at that time we can solve that. So that's why CSV is important. So if any risk is there during production, so if early in early we define the risk, so it's reduce the risk, legal liability, so someone cannot blame on another one. So reduce complaints during production. Any rejection is there, so during validation we can find out what the problem is there or any process is wrong for production. Any batch failure, to prevent the batch failure by validating the system. And the important reason to perform validation is to improve the system, and we can get the valuable product by the validation. So nowadays every pharma industries, CROs, and also IT fields are on automated system, and we using the validated system in efficient manner. So ability to provide all provided documents readily by FDA if any inspection is there, means US FDA or WHO. So if our system is validated, just a minute. If our system is validated and we have all documents of that, so we can present to US FDA or any regulatory agencies that our system is validated as that as per regulations, and what is the requirement of regulation is complying in our validated document. And if any customers are there or any internal audit or any clients are there which who want that your system is ready and how you are operating it. So by this CSV, means by this document, we can say that it's compliance as per your requirement, and the process is defined as per these documents. So validation is required to fulfill the regulatory requirements and to present documents to regulatory agencies. Then moving to the next, what is computer system validation? So validation is a tool to comply the regulatory requirements and to define the process. So as per said in GAM 5, GAM 5 is a guideline document for computer system validation. It's it's provides a support how to do and how to prove the validation and the process and in compliance manner of regulations. So the validation is the tool for quality assurance of computer system and its performance. So the CSV is the something better than looking. Means what we are seeing that the system is working fine, but we are not sure, and we doesn't have any evidence for that it will be work in future as per our requirement or not. So CSV is the proof which make more surety than we think, and its a reliability, means we can trust by the evidence of the computer system. So it's a reducing error and less risk to process and data integrity. As we know that pharma industry have many data integrity issues and data integrity violations, means data integrity breach are there. So by improving the system and automation, and so CSV is helping to reduce the data integrity violation. So any company doesn't get any warning letters or any non-compliance occurrence is there. It also reduces long-term system and project cost by minimizing the cost of maintenance and rework. If the system is already validated and process is checked, so maintenance is less and no any rework is required. If we didn't do any validation, then during operation we find out that something is missing or some process is not as per our requirement, so uh, we have to do maintenance and it's time consuming during the production, so batch is delay in our product doesn't going to market as per our target. So the CSV is the process of testing, validating, qualifying of the regulated computerized system. So CSV is the process of test something else. It means computerized system which is built up as per our requirement. So by CSV, we ensure that it does exactly what we are accepting. Means it is fulfill our requirement or not. It is designed to do in a consistent and reproducible manner. So validation is the process of establishing documentary evidence, demonstrating that the procedure, process, or activity carried out in testing and then production maintains the desired level of compliance at all stages. So validation is the documented evidence that we done the validation and we have proof that our system or our functionality working as per our standard regulated regulatory standards and our requirement. So by evidence we can prove that our system is working fine as per desired condition. So in validation, what is the procedure, the functionality of the system, and the activity which is mapped with our standard operating procedures, and also what is the requirement of regulatory agencies are verified. So all the production will be fine and as per our requirement. In the pharmaceutical industry, it is very important that in addition to final testing and compliance of product, it is also assured that the process will consistently produce the accepted results. Means if validation is happen one time, then the product will comply in every stage and in future in every life. Means the document is the evidence that function is working fine, but it it must have to work fine during any production or any process. So by the evidence we can prove that our system is well checked by the CSV team and it will be working fine. So the moving to the next slide, the definition of CSV, it's by FDA. So the confirmation by examination means to verify the system by the evidence and by the document. The examine the software to confirm that its function are worked as per our requirement, and the provision of objective evidence. Objective evidence means what we are seeing and we have to prove that. So the documentation is the part of CSV. So documents it is required to prove that the evidence of working is fine. The software specification conform to user needs and intended use. User needs means our requirement. It's a document that's called URS, user requirement specification. So it defines what the user needs to do with the software and how they will use the software functionality to make the product and to improve the process. And that the particular requirements means the U which is defined in URS that meets and implemented through software can be consistently fulfilled. Mean the particular requirements mean define how the software needs to work to enable the intended use, and the defined requirement will be consistently met. Means any stage of the software or any production is there, the software need to confirm that the software will work in all anticipated situation. So the meaning is of CSV uh, definition is that we have to check the functionality as per our requirement, it is there or not, or it is working fine as per our requirement, or it is diverted. Then we have to make the evidence of the all functionalities which we want, which is defined in URS. And the design means the software specification to confirm that our requirement is meeting as per our need by providing the CSV documents. And if our requirement is met, then it will fulfill in any time and in future that the requirements are ongoing as defined in any stage. So that this definition is given by FDA. So the main part of this session is that deliverables of CSV is the display screen. You see that many documents are required as per a defined process to prove our validated system are there. You can see that short form and also including full forms. And one line is there which is in red. The flow of documents is defined as per CC, URS, GXP, VP, FDS, DS, CS, pre-RM is pre-risk assessment, IQ, OQ, PQ, execution, then DM, then post RA, then RTM, PSR, and release. So this is the general term using many pharma, CROs, and IT industries. Or depending on the your process and your functionality of the system, this document may be changed or may be combined in some one document. Is there the full form of CC means the change control? What is the change going on, or what changes we required? It's defined in change control. Then URS, user requirement specification, what the user is, need, and the water system owner or say process owner need in the system is the basic need defined in URS. So the developer or say supplier build the system as per our requirement, as per our URS. Then GXP assessment and system categorization means see the system is in GXP environment or not. So we can say that we have to validate or not. If it is in GXP environment, then we must have to validate the software. Then VP validation plan means how in future the CSV plan, CSV documentation is going is defined in validation plan. Then FDS, the names already said that functional design specification, then design specification, then CS configuration specification. The FDS, DS, and CS is prepared by the service provider, means the vendor who build the system and make the software. Then pre-risk assessment, which are defined before IQ, QPQ means before qualification activity, that risk is what is the current state of risk before qualification of the system. Then IQ installation qualification and also combined with infrastructure qualification. Then OQ operational qualification, which check the functionality of the system. Then PQ performance qualification, which check the performance based on your workflow and routine activity. Then execution of test script, it's also covered in execution of test script in IQ, OQ, and PQ, because The execution is the part of qualification in IQ or PQ. It's evidence that prove that the functionality and the test is verified and how it's verified. Then data migration (DM), then post RA, post risk assessment. Data migration is is required if we are changing from one system to another system, or some hardware, means if we have routine procedure which we want to use in automated system or say in computer system, so some link up is there, so it's called data migration. Then post risk assessment, it will define after the all validation and qualification activity is done, that what is the current scenario of risk. So post risk assessment is there. Just a minute. The screen is visible or not? Anyone can say. It is fine now. Hello. I can't hear.
Yes, it is visible now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Then post risk assessment is done by after qualification activity, that what is the scenario and if any risk is currently present or not. Then RTM, requirement traceability matrix, which are the traceability of what our requirement and it is executed during qualification and validation activity or not. And the VSR is the summary of all validation deliverables and the validation plan. Then system release, after VSR system is going to live, means it is in operation phase. So we can see one by one from CC to release. You can see where we are now. It's been first, which is green at the line of above line, that change control. So the change control is what we are want, or what we can say that if we want some changes in our process, it's defined by change control. So change control refers any modification or any manufacturing materials we want, any facility, utilities, design, formulation, process, packing, labeling, computer system, and all associated documentation. Means in pharma industry, if you want some change, or if you want some new process, and it is going by QMS, means quality management system. The change control is the part of quality management system. So by change control, we initiate that what we want, or we what we want to going to change. So the change control is the part of QMS, means quality management system. So change control is process is usually conducted as a sequence of steps corresponding from the submission of change request. So by the change request is given by the user, means the system owner, that we want this automated system or computerized system. So by change request, the change control is raised, and it is going to all departments and the industry level, that to coordinate with other department, if it is impact any if any impact is there in other department or any business perspective. So the change control procedure that ensure changes are implemented in a controlled and harmonized manner. So the change control system provides checks and balances in the quality system by tracking, reviewing, and approving. So if change control is requested by the system owner with change request, so all flow going with all departments, and any suggestions are from higher authorities are there. And if it is must required, or we can say that we can automate this system, or we can additionally add this system in our company. So that's approval is there. After approving the change control, we moving forward to the validation part. Means the approval of system is given by the higher authority. Then we going to our requirement. It means moving to second slide. Then the second one is URS, user requirement specification.
Uh,
The
mm, Raviraj, like
ha, sir.
1 minute slides I am adding. I think it's disconnect. Okay, now you can connect.
Okay.
So,
So we are reached at the second stage of the CSV, that URS means user requirement specification. The URS means the what is the requirement of the system owner, and what we want in our automated process, or we can say in computer system. It's a needs of system owner, that what functionality, what features, and how he or she want to operate in future. It also contain any critical constraints such as regulations, safety requirements, and operational requirements, etc. etc. So the URS include the following but not limited to. Means any if you see the URS of any system owner, it's include below mentioned part, but it's not fixed. It's depend upon system, user, and the business requirement. Then the operational requirement, how we want to operate it. The functional requirements, how functionality will be working. The hardware requirement, if any physical condition is there, or if we want that any size, or any room size, or any temperature humidity control. So hardware requirement is there. Any security requirements means login logout, any logout time is there, any reports, any audit trials. This defines security requirements. Then data requirements, which type of reports, or any data generated by this computer system is there, is in defining data requirements. Audit trial requirements is that as per 20 CFR Part 11, that electronic records is there. Audit trial of login logout, then audit trial of any operation done by any user. Then electronic signature requirements is the part of 20 CFR Part 11. Means any if you want any printout, or any if you generate any reports, then you must have to do login, and with your electronic signature. Then interface requirement, if you any if your system need to be interface with another system which you are currently using. So any interface requirement is the part of URS. Reporting requirements, which type of report you want, and the formatting, and logo, and it is time stamped or not. The reporting requirement is there. Then regulatory requirements, it's by WHO, FDA, or any other regulatory which require this minimum requirement in the system. So regulatory requirements is there. Then any other requirements which is not defined here. So it's depend upon the system owner, and the company and business strategy. So moving to next, GXP requirement means the GXP assessment is there, and the system categorization is the part of, or it's also part of GXP assessment. So GXP means a good, and X present it's a clinical, it's a laboratory, or it's a manufacturing, and P for practices. If I say that GMP means the good manufacturing practices, if I say GCP means good clinical practices. If I say GLP means good laboratory practices. So if first we have to check that our system is in GXP environment or not. If it is in GXP, then we have to validate it. So these are the questions. We can say that is a questionnaire to define that it is GXP system or not. By this, you define it is we have to validate or not. Means that does the equipment system collect data, impact or store or retrieve data of regulatory submissions? Means it's related to any USFDA or any regulatory. Is the system used to generate GXP data? Means any report is generated which is used in BMR, BPR or any other relevant document. Is the computerized application system used to archive or record any regulated activity? Means your generated records are archived and stored long for long time for regulatory point of view. Does the system support the maintenance of the GXP system? Is the system used as a part of company's quality system and its documentation? Is the system used to track perform maintenance and or calibration of testing or laboratory equipment? And the last one is ERES, means electronic records and electronic signatures. The ERES is the part of 21 CFR Part 11, which is given by USFDA. That any electronics records means does the system create, modify, maintain, archive, retrieve, or transmit GXP relevant electronic records? Means the electronics record is there. Does the system involve e-signature as a part of workflow that are intended to be equivalent of handwritten signature? Means the system have e-signature. E-signature means if you want any print or you if you want any process, means you review it or approve it, then you must have to enter your password is there. Then your password is uh, ha- is equivalent to handwritten signature. That's called e-signature. So by questioning this to your system, you know that your system is in GXP or not. And the hardware and software category, by the hardware category, it is a standard hardware components, means it's in category 1. If it is custom build hardware components, means its category is 2. Then the software category as per game 5, category 1, 3, 4, and 5. The category 2 is absolute, means is no longer used in game 5, which we seeing which will we see in next session. That category 1 is infrastructure software, category 3 is non-configured software, category 4 is configured software, and category 5 is custom application software. Means the GXP assessment is one type of checklist. By this question you define that our system is GXP or not. If it is GXP, then what is the category of hardware and what is the category of software as per game 5. By this assessment, we are going to validate the system as defined in game 5. Then the validation plan is prepared. So validation plan define the strategy which we will use during our validation project. The validation plan is written at the start of validation project, or we can say that it may be sometimes concurrently with the user requirement specification and is usually specific to a single validation project. The collection of documents produced during a validation project is called a validation package. Once the validation project is complete, all documents in the validation package should be stored according to your site document control procedure. The validation plans are different from validation master plan. Some pharma industry are using prepare validation master plan, which show all systems which are in that plant, but the VP, the only validation plan, is defined for each and every computer system. So by VP, we define the who is process owner, who is the system owner, and in future how we validate the system, which document is prepared by whom, and who will be the CSV team, who will be the validation team, who will participate in execution, who will supporting during execution, any data migration is there, so any IT related help is required or not, who define risk assessment. So the responsibility table is there in validation plan to define all responsibility during the validation lifecycle. And validation plan is depend upon projects. Means it's a project specific means depend upon system. VP might be changed. Then FDS already name said that functional design specification. The FDS document describe how the software needs to work and look to meet the user needs. The FDS is defined and it is prepared by the service provider, or we can say the vendor. So as per our requirement, system is prepared by the vendor to fulfill our process and our requirement. The document might include description of how specific screens and reports should look, or describe data that needs to be captured. The functional requirements can also include logic and calculation along with how it will comply with regulatory requirements. For example, Part 11 means 21 CFR Part 11 given by US FDA. Compliance requirement might fulfill or not, or how password or audit trial should work. So, depend upon the functionality and the vendor. FDS might be changed, and it will divide it into DS or CS, or in FRS, or we can say that DS means design specification, CS means configuration specification, or FRS means functional requirement specification as per system design and configuration. So FRS describes system specification based on requirement. If we give URS to vendor, then based on our URS, FRS means the functional requirement specification was prepared. Means FRS represent all our requirements represent, and it will fulfill in which functionality. So based on URS, FRS will be prepared. And the DS, design specification, it describes the functionality of the software. The each and every screen and the buttons are there. So it's defined in design specification. Then CS means configuration specification. It describes the architecture and the which type of configuration is used. So the depend upon the system and functionality and document procedure of vendor, FDS might be changed or combined with other documents. So the FDS, DS, and CS, it's depend upon vendor and the system configuration. And pre-risk assessment. So pre-risk assessment is prepared based on functional risk. During CSV, only functional risk is considered because business related risk is defined in the QMS. So this risk is defined based on the functionality and the operation of the system. The pre-risk assessment is performed before implementation of the software to identify that the criticality of the risk and mitigation to control the risk. So based on our requirement, pre-risk assessment is prepared. It's defined that what is the risk as per our current process, and it means risk identification, risk analysis, then risk evaluation. So pre-risk assessment suggests that if we will not check the system or the functionality, then what will be the risk to use it in future or during operation. So pre-risk assessment is prepared before the validation activity, means IQ, OQ, and PQ, by confirming that what is risk. If we didn't qualify the system, then we are going to next phase, means IQ, OQ, and PQ. It's a qualification phase. Means IQ means installation qualification. Is the documented verification process that the system has been properly delivered as per our requirement. It is well installed and configured according to standards set by manufacturer or by an approved installation checklist. So installation is also, the name also says that how the system is installed, that we have to check it. Installation qualification must be performed before completing the OQ and PQ. And depending on your needs and the complexity of the system, IQ installation qualification can be combined with operational qualification or performance qualification. And the infrastructure qualification is the part of IT. It's cover server configuration and specification, and it also a part of installation qualification. If any software is installed on any server, so the infrastructure qualification of that server is required for the installation qualification of that system. Means the infrastructure IQ is the part of installation qualification. So we said that IQ is the how our system is installed physically, and what is the environment condition is there, physical condition, power supply is there. So these are the examples of IQ. This test is not fixed. It may be vary to it depends upon system and the company procedure. So what we execute during installation qualification means the location of install and necessary floor spaces is there, means the which location, which plant, or we can say that uh, what is the floor spaces is there. It is convenient to move manpower and any material or not, and gathering all documents like wiring diagram, system architecture manuals, and certificates, means the checking out that all wiring diagrams are up to date with version control and approved by the supplier or vendor, system architecture which was provided by the service provider, its operation manual of the system, and certificate of pressure gauge, temperature sensor, it is available or not. Examining instruments and components for damage, if any physical damage is there or not. So by examine by physically, we can say that see and say that it is our requirement, or any no any damage is found. Ensuring correct power supply, it means three-phase power supply or single phase power supply is there, or any power supply it is in as per scale. Means if you want a 230 power supply, then it is capable or enough that our system is meeting with the power supply as per our expectation or as defined in manual. Environmental and operating condition, means the temperature and humidity. The temperature is defined in manual that the system can work properly with 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. Then it is there or not where our system is installed. So by checking this environmental condition with thermohygrometer, then documenting hardware components and serial numbers as defined in manuals and given by vendors, that what is the serial number of each and every part, hardware components is there or any missing is. So by documenting hardware components and verifying with manuals and system architecture which was given by vendor. Checking software installation and versions means which system or which operating system is used for operation of this software. If you want for minimum 4 GB RAM of Windows, then it is comply with our requirement or not. So by checking the software installation and operating system, we can verify that system have minimum 4 GB RAM or it fulfill our requirements by capturing the screenshot of it and what is the version of that software. Then recording calibration dates of tools used for IQ means calibrate all the sensors are calibrated or not, means temperature sensor, pressure sensor as there, which is used during operation or any production. So they are calibrated or not. Verifying connection and communication with peripheral units means LAN cables and many RS type of cables is there. So connection is as defined in architecture or not, or it is fulfill the requirement and or a is given in manual by vendor or not. So connection is verified in installation, that system is connected properly as per defined by vendor. Then next one is OQ, means operational qualification, is the documented verification process that the all functionality defined in the FDS. Means OQ is the part which ensure the functionality of the system and it is working properly as defined in functional design specification, means a design document. The OQ test also include confirmation of any design elements not tested during IQ. So IQ define and check only installation part, and OQ define the functionality or any elements which is used during operation phase. Such configuration are working as specified. Every unit of hardware and software must be shown to be operating within the specified limit. Then we can say that each and every functionality of the part and the physical or digital buttons is working fine. We verify this in OQ. Then OQ must be performed after completing the installation qualification. If installation is done is vendor recommendation and our requirement, then we can say that we move forward to OQ. Depending on your needs, the complexity of the system, IQ installation qualification can be combined with OQ and PQ. It's a general term that depend your system and your SOP and routine procedure. You can combine IQ, OQ, PQ. It's in one document, or say we can say that IQ and OQ in one document and PQ is separate document. Then moving to the next operation qualification examples. So what we cover in operation qualification, it's PLC input outputs, means digital inputs, analog inputs are there, that or inputs which is present in PLC is working and as per defined architecture and wiring diagram. Key functionality means physical buttons like emergency switch, any indicator is there, and digital buttons are that level low alarm, level high alarm, any process by clicking the system is stop or not, any pump. So key functionality cover the functionality of hardware hard and digital buttons. Range of parameters means the range of defined parameter which is critical during process, means I can say that if I want to say set temperature 1 to 10 degree, then system doesn't allow me to set temperature more than 10 degree. So we the range and boundary means the range of parameter defined and verified that system allows or not. Then the process graphics means all screen, how the look and feel is there, and which type of functionality and how many screen is defined in the system. So it's covered in process graphics. Then system security means any login logout features is there. Without login anyone can use or not, that the system security defined by IT or internal security procedures is defined, it is it's supported by our system or not. Then date and time synchronization means every one week or any every one day, system will synchronize date and time with the GPS clock or central clock in pharma. Means it is possible or not, so we can get the uh, correct date and time in our reports. Operation of connected drives and valves means as we said that I click or start any drives or valve, then it working is the button defined or is defined in the screen. Then alarm, interlocks, and warning means the all alarm and interlocks are working as defined by the system. Means temperature high, low alarms, tank high, low alarms are there. Any warning, any suggestions if you if you enter password it is wrong, then the warning is that please correct password, please enter correct password. So all alarm interlocks and warnings are verified in OQ. Then power failure means UPS is available or not. If I suddenly switch off the supply of system, then after resuming the system, all parameters are set as defined earlier. It is possible or not. So power failure is defined that if any suddenly occurrence of power failure is there, the system working fine and no any parameter is changed or no any damage is there. Then communication failure means if I suddenly remove the communication cable or any supporting cable which is linked with PLC, SCADA and HMI. So after resuming the cable, all parameters are resumed and there is no any fraction or no any delay during time or reports. Then access right privileges means what is the rights provided to different users. What we can say that operator cannot change his password or say his name, or we can say that admin have all authority to change any functionality of the system, and the supervisor can create any users are there. It's depend upon the system and your process. So access right is covered in during OQ. The operation functionality means the functionality is defined in DS means FDS or design document is verified during OQ means operational qualification. Then next one is PQ. The after OQ means operational qualification, PQ is performed. The final it is the final step of qualifying the equipment. So performance qualification ensures that your equipment is fit for as per your purpose. Performance qualification are a collection of test cases used to verify that a system performs as accepted under simulated real world condition. The PQ contains process flow, product manufacturing process, operation as per your SOP means standard operating procedure. Means the PQ contain all the flow which we will use during our day-to-day or routine operation. PQ depends upon your operation and routine use, and it may vary depend product to product or depends on different requirements of the batch or any products. So PQ is the part of your operation means or day-to-day routine activity will perform or will function as per your requirement. So guys, these are some examples of your PQ means performance qualification. that the system can handle multiple users without significant system lag. Means at a one time, many users can log in with the same system. So by this, we can verify that our system is capable to handle many users at a one time. Flow is defined in operational SOP or as per URS. Means any process flow, any users management flow, or any document management flow is there. So it will be verified during performance qualification. Batch manufacturing for different criteria for different products. Means during batch manufacturing, BMR with different products, different BMR is there. So also PQ is defined based on different products. Then parameters to set during the system operation by verifying parameters which is critical during manufacturing. So it will be verified during performance qualification. Different workflow, as I already said that, and process flow is there. Alarm and interlocks during operation. If during operation means the, if we are manufacturing one batch, and if any alarm which is say that the liquid is low, or any vials is rejected, so it will be verified during performance qualification. So the IQ, OQ, and PQ means installation qualification, operation qualification, and performance qualification is the part of validation activity, and it's a qualification is there. Then the moving to the next slide, it's execution. Here, execution is uh, for IQ, OQ, and PQ. Execution means the evidence which ensure that the system is validated, and it's provide the evidence that we validate in which way. Means it's cover all evidences of IQ, OQ, and PQ. Execution is the test as defined in protocol. It's evidence, means the attachments are there, and it's called the test scripts and test case compilation. Any discrepancy observed during IQ, OQ, and PQ is mentioned in during execution, and it will be summarized during the last document VSR, means validation summary report. Then the next one is DM, data migration. The data migration is the process of moving data from one system to another. Means if we are going to use new system, or some changes are there, there if any previous data which we want to use is going to new system, that's called data migration. Means one format to another, or one application to another. If we are going to our physical documentation to automated documentation or system generated reports, then it's also part of data migration, that we are going from documentation to automated reports. If any new system is installed which required data from old one, so it's also required data migration to fetch the data to a new one. It is not compulsory for new system. If we can define our old system and new system separately in QMS, then it's not required data migration. It perform if new system is introduced for the replacement of the current system. The following are the some common scenarios, means example, that require data migration. If any replacement of the system is there, then it's required data migration. Any upgrade of the process or system, then expansion of storage system and equipment, then the funds moving from local storage system to cloud-based storage, or to optimized operation. Means the you if we are going to use cloud-based system, then we must have to store our real data, or means till date data to the cloud-based system. So it's called data migration. Installation of new system to coexist and augmented exist applications sharing the same data set. Switching to centralized data database to attain interoperability. Means any interconnection is there from one system to another, then data migration is required. The moving to the next is to post risk assessment. This risk assessment is performed after qualification activity, means installation, operation, and performance qualification. The post risk assessment will be executed. It's performed after implementation of software to identify the controls and acceptance of the risk. The post risk assessment consists the controls in how the risk is reduced and acceptance means by verifying during qualification we ensure that the controls are available to fulfill our requirements. So post risk assessment verify which controls are there, so our risk is mitigated, means our risk is reduced. If any risk is there which is not covered during qualification, then it is acceptable or not, means acceptance. If any risk is not covered during qualification, it might be covered during another process, or we can say that for that risk we define any standard operating procedures for that, or that it is impacted in our business or not. So by post risk assessment we evaluate that any risk is there, or which type of control is there. Then next one is RTM, requirement traceability matrix. Is the document that details the technical requirements for a given set scenario and its current state. Means it's the one type of matrix which traces the all documents and qualification part of the validation. It helps to prove the validation team to understand that the level of testing is performed for a given product. Traceability matrix should contain reference of all relevant documents prepared as a part of validation exercise. Any requirements not explicitly covered in the specification and tested or vice versa shall be justified in the traceability matrix. If any requirements or if any functionalities are there which is which was not verified during qualification activity may be justified in the traceability matrix. If any requirements has already been covered by the vendor during qualification, the appropriate reference document number shall be mapped to the corresponding requirement. Means if any documents is provided by the supplier, means vendor, so we can trace which is document is related to our requirement by the traceability matrix. The traceability matrix is the scenario of related documents and related points which are interlinked during validation activity. It's it said that the matrix interlink with different points with URS, our requirement, design document which is given by vendor, FDS, DS, and CS. Then risk assessment point where the risk is defined for our requirement. Then depend upon our requirement and the defined risk, which validation activity was performed during IQ, OQ, and PQ. So this one is the example of requirement traceability matrix which used during preparation of the document. Especially if I say that URS ID UR 1.1.4, we said that system have temperature high alarm if my temperature is beyond the 200, means it's our requirement. Then FDS defined where is the this alarm functionality is defined. It means which point cover this functionality is defined in our URS. Means 4.1.3, 4.1.4, and 4.8.5, which cover this type of requirement which defined in our URS. Then based on the requirement where the risk is defined, means if I can say that if any requirement is not fulfilled, so based on what type of risk is there, it defined in risk assessment. RA1 is the point, or they say session number of RA. Then during qualification or validation activity, IQ, OQ, and PQ, which test script is covered this type of requirement, means OQTS, operational qualification test script 5, IQTS, installation qualification test script 2, and PQTS, means peak performance qualification test script 1, which cover this type of requirement during our validation activity. So by these metrics, we verify each our requirement is verified or not, or if anything missing, so we can remark it here. And this document represent all scenario and our requirement and our qualification activity to the auditor and regulatory perspective. And the last document is VSR, means validation summary report. So validation summary report is the replica or say mirror image of validation plan. It's provide an overview of the entire validation project, like testing approach summary, validation deliverables, is the validation documents, conclusion and recommendation. The report is often structured to mirror the validation plan, as I said, that initiated the project. The collection of documents produced during a validation project is called a validation package. Once the validation project is complete, all validation packages should be stored according to your site document control procedure. Any deviation from the validation plan and follow-up action required shall be documented in the report. So, as defined in validation plan define what will be happen in future and during validation activity, and the VSR defined that what is done, what was done after validation activity is completed. If any deviation is there, if any document revision is there, and which type of deviation happened during means during qualification activity, and how it will be handled. If any document revision from user side is there, if any document revision from vendor side is there, it define and reflect in validation summary report. And the last one is system release. So after validation summary report, the system is ready to use. Means we can say that we can live the system for the operation and hand over to the system owner. So the system release note confirm that the system is validated and ready for its intended use. Release note might be covered during preparation of VSR. Means it reflect that system is, and we can say that we can hand over the system to the user for your intended use and routine operation. After system release, system will be in operation phase. So these are the deliverables of computer system validation. So one by one, from change control to user requirement specification to GXP assessment to validation plan, then the design document, functional design specification, configuration specification, pre-risk assessment before qualification activity, then qualification activity of installation qualification, operational qualification, performance qualification, then the evidence means execution of IQ and PQ. Then if data migration is required, means DM, then post risk assessment after validation activity, then requirement traceability matrix called RTM, then validation summary report that summarize the all validation deliverables of CSV, then system is ready to use, means system release. Thank you everyone.